Thanks for tuning in. Don't know how much we're going to do tonight. Just kind of tinkering a little bit before supper. So the plan is tonight I kind of want to figure out a little bit of my control system, like how much do I have to modify the intakes to use the injectors I want to use, stuff like that. I got to make sure I got enough little things, stuff I'm nowhere near ready for, but it's kind of just what I want to do tonight. Maybe we'll do a little fab work, but I doubt it. So we'll just kind of play it by ear, see how things go. Like I said, first of all, I got to see if I got any of the injectors I want to use, because I really don't want to use these stock ones with the clamped on hoses, these low pressure, low impedance injectors. I'd like to use like a more modern, cheap, high impedance injector that will supply easily more fuel than I'm looking for. So yeah, I'll rip some stuff off, I'll dig through my spare parts, and we'll kind of see what we can find.
Well, here we go, let's get those wheels out on the road. It may get dusty, but that's the way she goes. We'll build some greasy old cars and drink our AGD. Hey, don't you know, it's Barkleyville.
So it's good news, bad news. Bad news is I don't have a single injector in here for a LS of any sort. I thought I had some 5.3 injectors kicking around, but apparently the only 5.3 injectors I have are the ones in my truck, and I'm not stealing injectors out of the truck. So I dug through my spare parts, and out of 7 full groups of coil packs, I found 4 that matched, so I just picked 3 random sets out of the 4. The plan is I want to run this. I was going to go full sequential, but the price of an ECM to run a full sequential is just, with 12 cylinders, is just retarded. But you can run these as 6 cylinders, like essentially run them as a straight 6, and they have a mated pair. So that's kind of what I'm going to do, and my plan is to use LS coils, modify it to run like a stock style LS injector. The only fight there is going to be dealing with a rail and mounting a rail somehow. I mean, I can keep the V12 injectors, and then you just got to run resistors in line because they're low impedance injectors, and it's kind of a schmozzle, but it's not the end of the world. So I can do all that, and then I can run these coils. I'll have to change how they're mounted, and I don't know if you do 2 groups of 3 at the front and 2 groups of 3 at the back, because like I know I got a distributor here, but the plan is to convert the distributor to just a signal, like a cam signal, and then to add a crank trigger to the front of the engine. But I'm just kind of thinking over in my head how I would, like if I brought 3 of these close together and they only took up about 6-8 inches, would it still be a pain in the butt because the plugs are, like the spark plugs are right here, but like where else do you mount them? Do you put them up here where they're ugly and run coil wires down in? Do you keep the distributor because it's simple and easy? But then like I want to have full timing control and everything at my fingertips. So that's kind of why I want to go with these truck coils. And the other thing is when you're running stock truck coils, parts are cheap, parts are easy to find. You're not looking for specialty V12 parts. If you can run all the domestic stuff you can, you're just better off, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm struggling with that right now. I'm going to keep digging around in here and see what else I can find, but I'm pretty sure I can just run all these coils, no problem. You'll just wire them so that 2 fire at the same time. Not a big deal. I'm going with the old style coils off of the earlier like 5.3, 6 liter, whatever trucks, because it's the only one I have 12 of that match, and I have 4 spares. So it shouldn't be an issue. They should run just fine. Maybe they won't. Maybe there's problems with them. You'll have to let me know. But the other thing I'm looking through here is there's more stuff like vacuum hose just hanging off things. I got what I assume are idle air controls on both banks here that I either need to plumb in or figure out. And I got all kinds of ports for vacuum on the backs of these intakes to deal with. So I don't know. I think I'll keep stripping stuff down. Sorry I didn't film pulling the injector rail off, but like it's 12 bolts and pull the rail off. It's not a big deal. I didn't think anybody needed to see that. So I think I'm sure I have an injector here somewhere. I'm gonna keep looking around, and then I might kind of decide what I want to do next tonight. Like I said, I'm just kind of tinkering, taking time in the garage, just doing whatever I want. Okay, so tonight was kind of a write-off. That's fine. I just wanted to come out and tinker. Didn't really have a plan. Just wanted to come outside and hang out in the garage. So I did a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of organizing. It doesn't look like it in here. And then whatever with the intakes and finding coils, that's nothing. But yeah, I'm starting to figure out my garage, what I need to get in here, what I need to get out of here to clean up this mess. I've still got a giant tub of V12 stuff over there to go through too. Like the whole wiring harness, like I'm not going to use any of that. Chances are I'm not going to use a single factory sensor except for like the oil pressure sensor on this engine. And that's just to run a gauge. So I might not even use that. I might just use mechanical. But I don't know why I'm hanging on to that. I got a 3/4 of an LS harness over there off a 6-liter truck. I'm never going to use. So stuff like that, I need to just come out here during the day when it's light out and just load a bunch of garbage into the back of my truck. Stuff I tried to sell that I couldn't get rid of. And clean it up in here so that I can move around a little more. If anybody wants a pop machine, it is free and it works. Just come get it out of my garage. But I'll catch you next time I'm out here. Welcome back to the new, very bright garage that we can actually see what we're doing in. Well, I shouldn't say new, but the new lighting. If you missed the video on that, go back, check it out. I tried to do my best job on it. Like, it's some of the best work I think I've done as far as both editing and filming. I don't know, maybe I did a terrible job, but we're gonna see when it comes out. Today, I was charging the camera because for some reason it didn't want to charge. I decided to go through my tub that I have in the corner down there. I decided to go through my tub of V12 parts, and I kind of got it a little bit figured out. So first of all, I pulled out all the wiring, because I'm not going to use that. The old heat shields, the spare coils, the cut-up intakes, the original set of intakes, all kinds of chunks of hoses, and we trashed them. I kept a bunch of pieces. Well, this is obviously 49 stuff on top, but I kept like part of the intake tube in case I need to make a flange. I got spare throttle bodies. I got a spare throttle position sensor too. The spare accessory stuff as far as like tensioners and idlers. And then kind of threw out all the junk in here. I also kept all the spark plug wires just in case. But then I have this to play with. I gotta pull the coil off here, but this is your throttle linkages. Come from the throttle bodies to this throttle position sensor / throttle assembly. And you can pull it from either side. Like you'd wrap the cable around to here, or you'd come in here and wrap the cable around to this one. And then it's got an adjustable throttle stop. So if we get rid of the coil on that, then this will actually bolt right back into the top of the engine at the back for the whole throttle assembly, and that kind of really simplifies that. I also had 2 full sets of rails, and these rails are different than the rails that were on these intake manifolds, the second set I have here. And I'm not sure which one's older, which one's newer, but those ones had like air injection tubes, whereas these ones don't. And they were like half rails with hose in between, whereas these are like solid tube rails. And there's a 98% chance I won't use these rails, but on the 2% chance I will decide to try and use them, not necessarily with these injectors. I just decided for the space they take, I'll just put them back in the tub and we'll call that good. I put the water neck on the front of the engine as well. It connects to these water tubes on both sides, and then also above onto the water pump. And these things had 2 rad caps. They had one at the rad and they had one at the engine, just to get a high enough spot to bleed them out. So there's also dual water outlets at the top. So those will tie together. I assume I'll have to look at schematics and stuff, but I believe those two tie together and then go to the top of the rad, and then that'll be the bottom of the rad there. So that's not a big deal. I found the oil cooler lines and filter housing. So this will have to all get cleaned up and put back on the engine when we get to that point, so that I can mount a big old oil cooler. Apparently these things, the oil gets really hot, so they ran huge oil coolers and use a obnoxious amount of oil. So we'll have to see how it is in this car, obviously. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm going to start by tearing the coil off this, moving the injector rails back into the tub, and then get that mounted in there and hook up throttle stuff, just because, why not? I'm waiting on engine mounts, so I really can't do anything with engine mounting. And I still got to order the bell housing so that I can even test fit the transmission in here with it and start cutting more of the floor out. But just waiting on engine mounts, and the first thing we'll do is we'll get the engine set exactly where it needs to be, and we'll get going on engine mounts. But in the meantime, I figured I'd clean up a bunch of unnecessary garbage and kind of take inventory again of what I have, because Steven and I tore all this stuff off this engine in 2021, like January 2021, as soon as we got that shop together. So I don't remember what all I have, what all came with it as spare parts. So I'm just kind of working my way through that so I can kind of get in my head what I need to order, start designing how I want to do things, start pricing stuff out. So anyway, I'm going to get going on the throttle assembly, and we'll see how far we get. So as you can see, the throttle works pretty nice. There's return springs I have to add to both ends. I gotta clean up the intakes. The throttle bodies are dirty as can be. The intakes are dirty as can be. Looks like these intakes are gonna take a little bit of work. I got to weld up some holes, and then I got to take them to the machine shop and get them machined for our new injectors to fit proper once I get a few of the new injectors. I think I got a bunch at Stevens. If not, I got friends with them, so it's not a big deal. But it's nice to have that on there for fitting purposes, so I know, like, do I got to clearance more? Whereabouts does my throttle cable gonna have to go? So it's just nice for fitment issues to get that figured out. I thought I was pretty happy with the height the engine is, but honestly it'd be nice to go lower, but I don't think we'll be able to, especially because of where the oil cooler lines go. If I remember correctly, one goes to like the very bottom of the oil pan, so it's already going to stick down even farther. So we might just be stuck at about this height. We can come up if we have to, but it'd be nice to keep the engine as low as possible, not just for clearance issues, but just for weight issues, because I would like to run a hood on this car for now anyway. That's the plan for now anyway. That might change 5 minutes from now. I think I'm going to keep digging around in the garage and inventorying stuff. So I think that's about all we're going to tinker on tonight. So, you know, half hour to an hour every night makes a big difference, even if you're just doing little things, just so you can wrap your head around it. So that's kind of the point we're at while we're waiting for parts. So I'll catch you maybe tomorrow night, but probably not till the weekend. Welcome back out, guys. So tonight I'm going to get started on stripping down the front axle so I can get ready to narrow it. Josh isn't able to help me yet with this, but I figure I can get it stripped down, get it measured, marked, and hopefully cut, and then maybe even tacked together myself. And then I can get a professional welder to actually weld it together and then gusset the back side of the axle. So I'm gonna get going on it. I'll get wheels stripped off and hopefully I can leave the brake assemblies together and just pull the kingpins out of it, but we'll pull the springs back off it and see how far we can get. Now that we have most of the axle stripped down except for the kingpins, which I'm gonna have to press out if I want to remove them. So I might just leave them on for this rather than screw something up. The plan is to cut this one here, the bottom half here, all the way over to here, and then back up here, essentially making it two halves with a long overlap. And then the yellow sections here are the chunks I have to cut out. I'll cut 4 inches out of the bottom on this side and 4 inches out of the top on this side, and then slide it together and double check all my caster angles and everything, make sure everything's perfect, and then tack it together and then have a professional weld it up for me. As you can see, I was doing my math to find my center, and for some reason my math is wrong, but I still found center. I was off by about 2 centimeters, so not even actually. So got my center, marked it, and the only reason I marked my center was you know, for fun, I guess. Because looking at it now, I really didn't even need to know center. I just needed to know how much to cut out of it, because the center line doesn't matter. But yeah, so we'll cut these yellow sections out. I'll probably flip this over and redo my drawing again and try and get this line dead straight, regardless of the angle of the axle, because I don't imagine that this is going to slide together very nice and follow the same angle with the arc in it. So I don't know. I think it'll be smarter to make just a dead straight cut in it, and then I can make my center cut, my end cuts, and cut this chunk out, slide it together, and we'll see where we are. At the very least, if I can get this tacked together sort of strong, I can see where my springs are going to hang, and I can start designing how I want to do my mounts, find my center on my axle on my frame, and get that all done. But I think that's it for tonight. Next time I come out here, I'll most likely be starting to cut this, so we'll see you then.